I started explaining the samvad between Rai Ramanand Ji and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ji. When Mahaprabhu Ji went around India, gracing all the devotees from coast to coast and north to south, all around India, when he was near the Godavari River, he met with a great devotee named Rai Ramanand. So their conversation included some discussion of the ultimate aim of life. And in fact, to reveal this to all the souls, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ji started asking questions from Rai Ramanand Ji about the ultimate aim of life. So he told him, quoting from the scriptures, explain to me what the aim of our existence is. Last week I told you that he started by quoting a shlok from Gita saying, Sve sve karmanya bhiratah sansiddhim labhate narah. He started by saying, by observing all the do's and don'ts of Vedas, by observing the responsibilities and following one's dharma, one attains the aim of their life. So Mahaprabhu Ji said, yes, this is part of the teachings of our scriptures. However, this is not the highest goal, because what you've just explained, if somebody follows that, they would only attain Swarg. Because what you see, Ved explains all different kinds of things for different kinds of people. There are tamas people, there are rajas people, there are sattvic people, and then there are people looking for God. And Ved has teachings for all the different types of people. So for those people who simply want worldly enjoyments and are not at such a place mentally or spiritually where they can even think about attaining something higher, like attaining God, they just want to enjoy the world. For them, Ved explains, okay, enjoy the world, but do it according to these rules. Otherwise, if you try to enjoy the world only through selfish actions or even by causing harm to others, then you'll be punished. You won't get peace of mind in this life, and in your next life you'll be punished. So seek happiness, seek worldly happiness, but by following these injunctions of Ved. And if you really follow them carefully, you could even go to Swarg and enjoy an elevated style of happiness over there, which is still Mayic, but better than the pleasures that we have here on earth. So Ved gives that option because not everybody is ready to listen about God realization. So Rai Ramanand Ji started at this level. But Mahaprabhu Ji said, no, that's not the ultimate thing. Tell me something more. So then he said, Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yat juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Again, quoting from Gita, he said, everything you do, offer it to Shri Krishna. So perform your dharma, like he said, like he quoted in the previous shlok. However, while performing that dharma, remember Shri Krishna. Offer everything you do to him. Mahaprabhu Ji said, yes, you've come up one level. Because previously, what you described, that would still cause binding karma on a soul. Even sattvic karma is binding. Because anything that keeps you in Maya keeps you bound. Anything that requires you to receive the results in this world, being reborn in the cycle of birth and death in 8.4 million species under Maya, is binding. So even sattvic karma, even good karma is binding, although it's better than bad karma, but it's still a type of bondage. So this next shlok he quoted would free a person from the bondage of those actions he's performing. In other words, the good actions you perform with your mind and Shri Krishna will not bind you. Those are good actions, but they're not going to have the same binding consequences that normal good actions do, because you did them while remembering Shri Krishna. And the binding quality of an action is caused by our mental attachment, not by the physical performance of that action. So if our mind is attached in the world while we're performing an action, if our mind is attached in our family, or our mind is attached in the reward we're going to get for that dharma that we're performing, then it's going to be binding. But if we perform the very same action, just remembering Krishna, then there's no binding effect of that action. So Mahaprabhuji said, good, you've told me something better than the first thing. However, this would only free a person from their kriyaman karma. They're free from the effects of the actions they're performing. What about all the rest of their karma, their sanchit karma? Uncountable, infinite actions of infinite past lives, which are all stored up and just waiting to fructify. We have to undergo the effects of all of that karma. So even if we never perform any more karma, any more kriyaman karma, that means new karma that you're doing in this life, or any other life in the future, let's say you stop performing even a single new karma because your mind is in Krishna. So none of your new karma is counting. None of it is going to bind you. You're not going to undergo the consequences of any of it. You still have all your remaining past karma, we call sanchit karma, that you'll have to undergo. And since it's unlimited, even if you live unlimited more lifetimes, you can never finish it. Even if you live infinite more lifetimes, you still have infinite sanchit karma remaining. So how will a person free themselves from that? Rai Ramananji said, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Again, quoting from Gita, he went one step higher. He said, if somebody fully surrenders to Shri Krishna, then Shri Krishna even deletes their sanchit karma. Then a person is free from karma of all types forever. All their past punya, all their past pap, good and bad actions, it's all deleted. And they're fully surrendered to Shri Krishna, so now there's no question of creating any more new binding karma. So that person would be free from karma forever, which was Arjun's main concern in the Gita. So that's basically as far as the Gita goes. However, Mahaprabhuji was not satisfied. He said, tell me something higher. Just freedom from karma, that's it? There has to be something beyond that. What is a higher aim of our existence? Rai Ramananji quoted again from the Gita. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param bhaktya mam abhijanati mamebhyah paramavyayam bhakti Mam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. Rai Ramananji said there's one state, because he only told, okay, get free from karma. He says, oh no, there's a state where you can know God and merge into God, called moksha. So if one surrenders to Shri Krishna, then they can know him. Yavan yaschasmi tattvataha, Shri Krishna says in Gita. You can know me, whatever I am, to my full extent, if you surrender to me through bhakti. But Mahaprabhuji said, this is bhakti mixed with Gyan Marg. It's not pure bhakti. So you told me something higher than just getting free from karma. You told me that it's possible to know God, get Brahma Gyan by surrendering to Shri Krishna through bhakti. And then Vishate Tadanantaram, merge into Shri Krishna. After knowing him, you merge into him. But he said, this is called moksha, and I am the opponent of moksha. Taro madhye mokshavancha kaitava pradhan. Mahaprabhuji says there is something called kaitava, a deception. And of all the deceptions in the world, four are main: dharma, arth, Kam and moksha. Why are dharma, arth and kam deceptions? One normally hears that these are the aims of human life, char purusharth. Well, dharma, arth and kam, these three keep you in the area of sattva, raj, tam. You just heard about, if you're just performing dharma, what's the ceiling? It's swarg. You can't go to the divine world. You can't get moksha. You can't know God simply by performing dharma. It keeps you within the cycle of birth and death. So dharma, arth and kam are kaitava. Because if someone thinks that's the ultimate aim, they're fooling themselves. And the result is they remain bound under maya and bound by karma. But moksha is even worse according to Mahaprabhuji, because if you get moksha, you merge into Shri Krishna's formless aspect, and then you have no experience ever again. That Brahma Gyan was momentary. We say the Jnani surrenders to Shri Krishna and then knows Shri Krishna. Well, after knowing him, what happens? His mind is finished because his mind was Mayak. And now he merges into Krishna with no mind, no body, no senses. So how will he know him? He can't know him anymore. He doesn't know anything. He became one with him. He merged into him. So now there's no knowing, there's no experiencing. There is being, but there's no awareness of that being. This is the state of Kaivalya Moksha. So Mahaprabhuji says that's the worst deception of all, because then you'll never experience God. You're not experiencing the suffering of the world either, but it's like being in an unconscious sleep. You have no awareness of your peacefulness while you're sleeping. Only when you wake up do you say, Sukha Mahamaswapsam. Oh, I was sleeping so happily. You don't realize that while you're asleep, only when you wake up. That's why you want to go back to sleep. But moksha is such a sleep that never ends. So you never wake up and you never realize your peacefulness or your happiness while you're in that moksha state. So Mahaprabhuji says, tell me something better than moksha. I am a big opponent of moksha. In fact, it's better to pursue dharma, arth, and kam than moksha, because moksha is forever. And you'll never get anything higher than moksha after attaining moksha. But if you're stuck in the cycle of birth and death, chasing after dharma, arth, and kam, at least you're alive in this world. And eventually, through a saint's guidance, you may realize that the goal of your life is actually beyond dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. Dharma projhita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamunikrite Kim va parairishvaraha Sadyo hridya varudhyatet Kritibhi shushru shubhistakshanat Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam begins with Vedavyasji saying, this Bhagavatam tells Kaitavarahit dharma. It reveals the path which is free of such deceptions. And the disciple and follower of Jagadguru Shankaracharya, Sridhar Swami, he did Vyakhya of this shlok, did Tika of the whole Bhagavatam. And he explained that the Kaitav being mentioned here by Vedavyasji, that's that Dharma, Arth, Kam, and Moksha. Only when you go beyond the desire for those four do you reach the real goal of human life. So, Rai Ramananji went beyond the philosophy of Gita and he quoted from Bhagavatam. Jnane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva Jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam Sthane sthiti shrutigatam Tanuvang manobhir Ye prayasho jita jitopyasi Trais trilokyam. He said, if someone does pure bhakti, leaving aside the unnecessary pursuit of intellectualism, practices, transcendental practices, practices of Gyan Marg, leaving aside all of that, Jnane prayasam udapasya, totally leaving aside that and practicing pure bhakti. Namanta eva, just surrendering to Shri Krishna, tanu vak manaha, with physical surrender, verbal surrender, and mental surrender. Just that and nothing else. Sthane sthita, staying in one place. Shruti gatam, hearing from saints about the names, leelas, virtues, forms, abodes, and saints of Radha Krishna, and just meditating on those and singing them. What happens? O Krishna, prayashaha ajitaha. Normally people think of you as one who is unconquerable, but jita, you are conquered by such a person who does that. So here Rai Ramananji has gone in sequence. He started with karma and explained how to get free from karma. But karma is subservient to Gyan. Gyan is higher than karma. So then, when Mahaprabhuji kept questioning him, he went on to the topic of Gyan, the path of knowledge. But then, Mahaprabhuji kept questioning him, so he went on to bhakti. Karma is under Gyan. Gyan is under God, because you have to surrender to Shri Krishna to get Gyan. So you can say karma, Gyan, then moksha. With Gyan you get moksha. You get moksha from Shri Krishna, but beyond Shri Krishna is bhakti. If someone practices pure, selfless, loving devotion to Shri Krishna, they conquer him. So karma is under Gyan, Gyan is under Moksha, Moksha is under Krishna, but Krishna is under Bhakti. So Rai Ramananji went this far, explaining that the highest aim of life is Bhakti. Pancham Purushartha Sei Prema Mahadhan. Purushartha Shiromani Sei Prema Mahadhan. Mahaprabhuji says, there are not 4 aims of human life, there are 5 aims of human life. And the 5th and topmost aim is Prem, supreme devotion to Shri Krishna. But Mahaprabhuji wasn't done. He says, yes, you've told me the greatest thing. However, tell me more about this Prem. So Rai Ramananji said, well, in Prem, in Bhakti, you love God in a certain style. So you can love him with Dasya Bhav. Dasya Bhav is so great that when one loves Shri Krishna with feelings of wanting to serve him, Shri Krishna becomes subservient to that person. Mahaprabhuji said, yes, this is true, and this Dasya Bhav is great. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadya navritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. Rup Goswami has said in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu that the highest form of bhakti is free of any affiliation of karma or gyan. Just pure bhakti and anukulyena krishnanushilanam. You have to love Shri Krishna with some type of relationship. So Dasya Bhav is one way that we can love Shri Krishna. There's also Shant Bhav, but Shant Bhav is very distant and very formal. Shant Bhav means loving Shri Krishna as if he's your king and you're a subject in his kingdom. You can't do much subject to king other than admire from a distance. So Rasik saints don't give much thought to this Shant Bhav. Better than Shant Bhav is Dasya Bhav. So Rai Ramananji explained about Dasya Bhav, but Mahaprabhuji said, okay, this is good, tell me something more. Then he told about Sakhya Bhav. Sakhya Bhav is praised by Brahma in the Bhagavatam. Aho bhagyam nanda gopavrajau yan mitram paramanandam purnam brahma sanatanam. Sakhya Bhav, Brahma says, these cowherd boys of Braj, how can I praise their good fortune? They have Supreme God as their personal friend? This is unimaginable to me. In fact, Brahma's divine intellect was unable to comprehend the interaction between Shri Krishna and his friends because Brahma himself isn't at that level. Most of you would be familiar with the story where Shri Krishna was having lunch with all the Gwalbalas, and Shri Krishna was not acting like God. Why not? Remember, karma is under Gyan, Gyan is under Moksha, Moksha is under Krishna, but Krishna is under Bhakti. So in Bhakti, you love Shri Krishna, and the way you love him, he loves you the same way in return. So beyond Dasya Bhav is Sakhya Bhav. That Sakya Bhav makes Shri Krishna completely forget that he's God. Brahma sees Shri Krishna as his Lord and Master, so he couldn't understand, why is Supreme God sitting so informally with these boys? Brahma thought, let me come down from Swarg and have a look, what is Supreme God doing, who has descended in my Brahmand? And he saw him sitting informally with all of his friends, and they were all sharing lunch together. Someone brought samosa, someone brought dahi vada, someone brought dosa, someone brought paratha, and they're all sharing it. Oh, look what Sri Rama has. Krishna says, give me some of that. Oh, you have gulab jamun, and he grabs it right out of his friend's mouth and starts eating it. And Brahma's thinking, itni asabhyata from Bhagawan. So he got confused and he thought, is this God or not? This young boy is certainly not acting like I think God is supposed to act. So he tried testing him. When Krishna went to herd up all the calves who had wandered off, he put all the Gwalbals in a spell, keeping them asleep. He transported them into a cave. So when Shri Krishna went off, first of all, he couldn't find the calves either because Brahma had already stolen them away and put them in the same cave. And then not having found the calves, he came back and couldn't find his friends. But in a second, taking the help of his Yogamaya Shakti, he knew, oh, this is Brahma's Karatuti. So he decided to reveal the facts to Brahma in his own playful way. So Brahma, having done all of this, he was feeling a little hungry, so he thought, let me go back to Swarg and have a bite to eat of my own. But by the time he got there, Krishna was already there, sitting on his throne as Brahma. He had transformed himself to look like Brahma, and he told the guards, there's an imposter Brahma who's come, grab him. So Brahma fled from there, and he fled back down to Mrityulok. And he thought, okay, let me find out what's happening. Krishna must be very confused by now, not having found his friends. But in the time it took him to go to Brahmalok and come back, a whole year had passed on earth, because the ratio of how time passes is different. One day of Brahma's is 4.32 billion years for us. So his coming and going to Swarg was a whole year for us. In that time, Shri Krishna himself had taken the form of all the Gwalbals and all the calves, and was sitting eating lunch with himself. But Brahma thought, what? Where? Let me go check. And he saw all the Gwalbals and calves are still in the cave. But what are they doing here? Then he got so confused, he was feeling dizzy. Then it dawned on him, oh, I tried to give a test. I tried to challenge Supreme God, but the tables got turned on me rather quickly. Then he surrendered to Shri Krishna. And that's when he sang the shlok, Aho Chitramaho, Aho Bhagyamaho Bhagyam. How great are these Gwalbals, and how great is their fortune to get Shri Krishna, Supreme God, as their personal playmate and friend. So this is Sakya Bhav. The one who worships Shri Krishna with Sakya Bhav goes beyond the status of Brahma in the divine world. But Mahaprabhuji said, tell me something more. This is great, but tell me something more. So then he told about Vatsalya Bhav, which is beyond Sakya Bhav. When we love Shri Krishna as our son, or when we love Radharani as our daughter, like we think about that on Chati or Barahon. Oh, Choti Si Lali, little baby Krishna, and we think of being his mother or his father. That's Vatsalya Bhav. That's even higher than Sakya Bhav. We're in an even closer relationship with Shri Krishna, with this Vatsalya Bhava. Yashodaya samakapi devata nasti bhutale yaya baddho muktido ulukhale yaya baddho muktido muktimichhati. A Jnani Paramahansa who is passing through Braj, who is thinking, like we sing those Pad Kirtans where there's a Jnani who has come and he's saying, Alak Niranjan. In other words, Alak, God can't be seen. Niranjan, He has no qualities of any kind, no characteristics, just pure divine existence, pure divine truth. So this is what the Jnanis believe and experience. But this Jnani Paramahansa was passing through Braj, and to his astonishment, he saw his imperceivable Brahm tied up to the Ukhal in Mother Yashoda's courtyard. He said, what? How great this devotee, how great this Mother Yashoda is to have tied up my Brahm that I can't even see or touch or experience in any way, and she has him tied up to the Ukhal. And although he is the giver of liberation, he's begging for his liberation. This is the greatness of Vatsalya Bhava. But Mahaprabhuji said, tell me something more. Then Rai Ramananji said, quoting from Bhagavatam, Nayam Shriyong Unitantarate Prasada Swaryoshitan Nalinagandharuchankutonya Rasotsavesya Bhujadanda Grihita Kantha Labdha Shisham Ya Udayad Vraja Sundarinam. He said, these gopis of Braj, this is actually a quote of Uddhavji after he had been to Braj and met all the gopis and came back to Mathura. He was telling Shri Krishna, who could understand the greatness of gopis, who during Ras Leela, Shri Krishna puts his arm around their neck and they're dancing together? He said, even Lakshmi didn't receive such close association with Shri Krishna. What to say of other maidens of Swarg or the ladies of the earth planet? These gopis have received the most proximity with Shri Krishna. Nobody is closer than the gopis who loved Shri Krishna with Madhurya Bhav. Selfless Madhurya Bhav. It's called, see, there's three kinds. Sadharani Rati Madhurya Bhav, Samanjasa Rati Madhurya Bhav, and Samartha Rati Madhurya Bhav. Samartha Rati Madhurya Bhav means loving Shri Krishna as your sweetheart, as your beloved, with one desire in mind, his happiness. Ashlishya va padaratam pinashtuma madarshanam marmata mahatang karotu va yatha tatha va vidadhatu lampato mat prananathastu saivana parah. Other Jnanis are amazed, seeing in Braj, my Brahm is being called Lampat and Chor by the gopis. They're scolding him, and he's chasing behind them. Young Krishna, oh Gopi, and the gopis scolding him. Imagine what has happened to my Brahm. The Jnanis get confused. What has happened is that your Brahm is under the control of bhakti, and those gopis have the highest form of bhakti. Aham bhakta paradhinaha, Bhagavatam. I'm under the control of my bhakt. So the gopis are the highest of all the bhaktas because they have the most intimate love for Shri Krishna and the most selfless love for Shri Krishna. This shlok said by Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji expresses those feelings of selflessness, where a gopi is saying to Shri Krishna, however you treat me, whether you shower your affection on me by embracing me, or you tell me to get lost, get out, I never want to see you again, or you completely ignore me. These are the only three ways in which you can treat me. And my challenge to you is, no matter how you treat me, only you are mine. I have nowhere else to go. There is no one else for me. You are the soul of my soul. You are my only life. You are my everything. So my love for you will only go on increasing. My job is to love you. Whether you love me in return is of no concern to me. Only the gopis embodied this pure selflessness in love for Shri Krishna. And this is why their status among saints is the highest. So where this divine love power, this bhakti of the divine world has 8 levels, as I've explained in previous weeks. Prema bhakti, sneha bhakti, man bhakti, pranaya bhakti, raga bhakti, anuraga bhakti, bhavavesh bhakti, mahabhav bhakti. 8 levels. Depending which of these relations we adopt with Shri Krishna, we'll reach to one of those levels. So, Dasya Bhav devotees reach to the first level, Prema Bhakti. Sakhya Bhav devotees reach to the 5th level, Raga Bhakti. Vatsalya Bhav devotees reach to the 6th level, Anuraga Bhakti. But Madhurya Bhav devotees, who are completely selfless, they have this Samartharati Madhurya Bhav, like the gopis, they reach all the way to the 8th level, Mahabhav Bhakti. Now Mahaprabhuji was satisfied. He says, now you've told me everything, and you've explained in detail what is the true aim of human life. The true aim of human life is to practice bhakti with Madhurya Bhav and total selflessness in order to attain the status of the gopis. And we do so by loving Shri Krishna, chanting his name, meditating upon his virtues and his leelas and his form. And simply by doing that, we will attain him. It's interesting to note that the 2 people having a conversation are both men, Mahaprabhuji and Rai Ramanand. And they're saying the topmost thing is to love Shri Krishna as the gopis did. So it means all the men sitting here, you're not men on a soul level. Your body is a man in this life, but we've all been men before and we've all been women before in our uncountable past lives. The soul is not designated as a man or woman that you have to be born this gender in every life. The soul can be born in either gender. So men, you can also adopt this Madhurya Bhav. You have those sanskars from your past lives. So you can access those. All it takes is a little bit of practice. You actually do Roop Dhyan. I am a young, beautiful gopi. Try to imagine yourself that I want to be pleasing to Shri Krishna when he comes and sees me. So you imagine yourself as a gopi and then you love Shri Krishna with that madhurya bhav. With a little bit of practice, you will be graced by Radharani, Shri Krishna, your guru, to access those past sanskars. And all of a sudden, that experience will open up for you and it will become normal and natural for you to think of Shri Krishna in that way. So now you've understood, according to this conversation between Rai Ramanand and Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, that the ultimate aim of life is to love Shri Krishna with Madhurya Bhav and to attain the status of the gopis. Boliye Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki.